Did John tell you what Alan Richardson said about our catching yesterday? I reckon we put 5 down. I reckon Cox did drop one after all that. You know who we thought? Remember? I think we played excellently off Sunday.
So the one at point was a draw.
I reckon they all were. Yeah. Just about. None of them were easy.
No, but they look like.
But he said it with a twinkle in his eye. It wasn't hostility. It was just, you know. He was always quirky. I played with him, you know, for the NAYC, National Association of Women Cricketers. And he was a year younger than me. He was more of a leg spinner than a batsman. But he was always a bit quirky, he was always a bit different. Yeah.
To get the first one out of the way, isn't it?
Good morning and welcome to the Incora County Ground for day 2 of this county championship match between Derbyshire and Worcestershire. Intriguingly poised overnight with Derbyshire on 360 for 8. Harvey Hussain 65 not out. Ben Aitchison 3 not out. And we're in for a good day's cricket. It was a great day's cricket yesterday. The umpires, Paul Baldwin and Tim Robinson, are making their way out to the middle. In fact, they've just about got there. And the Worcestershire players are gathering on the boundary. In fact, they've set off, and they're coming on as well. It's all happening. They'll be followed by Harvey Hussain and, of course, by...
County ground for...
See, it's working. Always good to check. Hussain and Aitchison. The target clearly is 400. Can Derbyshire get there? I think it's odds against, personally, but you never know. Yesterday we saw a century for Matt Critchley, a 98 for Leas Deploy, half century for Billy Godleman, and a couple of first ball ducks, so it pretty much proves that anything can happen. Worcestershire refreshed after a night's sleep. We'll be looking to polish off the last 2 remaining wickets, no question about it. And then bat, and hopefully they'll be looking, well, hopefully from their perspective certainly, they'll be looking to bat as they batted last week down at Chelmsford, although Chelmsford doesn't look as easy to bat today and yesterday as it did 7 days ago. It looks like Alzari Joseph, who got 2 in 2 balls late yesterday, just to put a bit of a gloss on his bowling figures. He's going to bowl 2 for 86 from 18 overs, his figures currently, which I'm fairly sure he would want to be slightly better. But he's going to bowl from the city end. Oh, he's already got his hands in his pockets, which is never a good sign. He'll have his hand warmers in there, of course, and it'll be Harvey Hussain who will face the first delivery of the day. Just a couple of slips in place, so not massively attacking. Third man out on the cover boundary. There's a closer in cover, mid-off, mid-on. There's a man out on the mid-wicket boundary as well. And there is a fine leg too. So we've seen more attacking fields, certainly. They started off yesterday morning, having won the toss and put Derbyshire into bat. Worcestershire, they started off with 4 slips, but things have just calmed down a touch. Here comes Alzari Joseph then from the city end, bang on time, and it's forced away by Harvey Hussain down to that man on the point boundary, who is Jake Libby. And the first run of the morning is on the board. Derbyshire move on to 361 for 8. I've got a couple of emails that came in overnight, which I'll get to when Frank Watson from BBC Hereford and Worcester joins me in a few moments' time. He's brought his own heater today, blasting away in the background. Ben Aitchison on strike. There is a short leg in place for Aitchison. And first delivery just pulls the bat away inside the line. And as a result, it goes through to the wicketkeeper. And there's no run. Welcome if you're listening on the BBC Sport website and app. And welcome as well to everybody watching and listening along on the Derbyshire stream, which appeared to be relatively popular yesterday, which is good news. 361 for 8. Aitchison on 3. Joseph bowls to him. It's way wide of the off stump. And goes through to the keeper. If we can get the big video up on the other laptop here. It's very much a visual moment. Signs at the non-strikers end. Derbyshire's wicket-keep 66 not out as Aitchison waits and Joseph bowls possibly a touch wider of the off-stump than the previous delivery, and that one goes through to keeper Ben Cox. So just one run added so far this morning. Stream up and running on the laptop. Good news for everybody. Not just the head-on cameras here, of course. We've got cameras either side of the wicket, replays, graphics. As Joseph bowls outside the off stump. This is as ineffective first over as you could wish to see so far from Alzari Joseph, the big West Indian. Made his debut yesterday. Picked up those 2 wickets late in the day in successive deliveries. He couldn't. Nope. So we're not doing an 11 o'clock then on BBC Radio Derby, which is fair enough. Thanks for coming. Here's Joseph in and bowls. That one is off a leading edge out into the offside. Ben Aitchison has set off for a single and is almost run out from the Libby throw. He got back just about in time. And the over comes to an end. So 1 over gone, 1 run added. So who's going to bowl the first over? It's going to be Ed Barnard from the racecourse end. It's Frank Watson, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning, Dave. Good morning,
Mate.
listeners.
Morning, mate.
Good morning, viewers. Ed Barnard then, from the racecourse end, moves away from us now to bowl to Harvey Hussain. And his first ball is a bouncer, which Hussain ignores, just sways out of the way of. Interesting start from a medium pacer.
It was a wonderful first over from Alzari Joseph as well, wasn't it? Very much in keeping with how he bowled for most of yesterday.
Yeah, he
exceptionally ineffective.
A little bit of movement away, but starting 2-3 feet too wide.
The ball's only 20 overs old, isn't it?
Yeah, there's Barnard again. 2 slips waiting as he moves in, bowls to Hussain, who drives nicely. Square of the wicket, timed beautifully, but only a single, because D'Oliveira is back on the point boundary, and that's what Worcestershire were hoping. They want to get Hussain off strike, so they're giving him a single effectively. He goes to 67, 362 for 8, and Ben Aitchison on strike against Barnard for the first time. 3 not out overnight, Aitchison.
Ian Aitchison, Ben's dad. You can go to the Derbyshire County Cricket Club website, you'll find it there.
Barnard in again, bowls, that's good delivery, but again, just a little bit too wide to start with. It bounced and left the right-hander, but just a bit too wide. Yeah, moved in, I was next door in the other box doing my FM update during Joseph's first over, and as you said, it was ineffective, didn't really make the batsman play. He was getting a bit of movement away, but just starting too wide. But his length, I did think, was better. So if he got it straight, they would have to play. There's Barnard in, bowls, and Aitchison does play at this one, drives at it, but misses it as it shapes away and is taken by Ben Cox. Just yesterday, we felt that Joseph, sometimes when he bowled too short, even when he bowled it straight, it just went clear over the batsman's head.
Yeah.
Whereas he's bowling a fuller length. Obviously, the coaches have had a word and said, in these conditions, don't bowl too short. Barnard, again, in, wide on the crease, bowls and a little bit wide of off stump. That time left alone by Aitchison. So 3-6-2 for 8. Both teams will be going into this second day with a plan. Worcestershire's no doubt will be to bowl at the other end from Hussain for most of the time, which is why those 2 sweepers are going out now, to try and give Aitchison a single and to get things wrapped up as quickly as possible, and then to get through the new ball and dig in and make a big score. Again, Barnard bowls, Aitchison leaves this one, end of the over. Derbyshire, on the other hand, feel they had a good day, even despite losing those 4 wickets, and anything around about 380, 400 in the first innings is good stuff, and when you've been put into bat, it's very good stuff. So they'll feel they're in a pretty good position, and they'll think if they can get 380, 400, pick up a couple of wickets with the new ball, where we'll expect it to do a fair bit on this surface while it's new and hard, that they can build on a good day yesterday, won't they?
Yeah, no question. Obviously 400 inside 110 overs, and they'd pick up the 5th batting bonus point. So we'll wait and see if we can get that far. I'm not entirely sure. Joseph in again and bowls to Hussain, who pushes it out into the offside, and they pick up the single from the first ball of the over, and it exposes Aitchison again, who almost ran himself out. The final ball of Alzari Joseph's first over. In fact, he probably completed a full 22 yards by getting certainly close to the middle and then turning around and coming back. Harvey Hussain had absolutely no intention of taking the single. 363 for 3, so 3 runs added to the overnight score. And Joseph, he's got the short leg in place, although he's quite a deep short leg, as this one is left alone by Aitchison outside the off stump, and it goes through to keeper Ben Cox, who had a bit of a torrid time of it yesterday, not of his own doing in any way, shape or form, but
yeah, 21 buys there are so far in this innings. Very, very harsh.
We were discussing it in the press room with the written boys earlier on today, and really at least a couple of them, if not 3, 4, could have been wides rather than given as buys. That's a play and a miss from Aitchison. That just had a little bit of outswing.
He's just straightened up. I mean, you can see the potential, can't you, with Alzari Joseph? He's quick, no question about that. He's got pace. And when he shapes it like that and gets it a bit straighter to start with, it's a really useful delivery. It's just wasting it when it starts it so wide. But you can see that if he gets it all right...
Or if he gets it right,
yeah.
he would be. I mean, he's quick.
Yeah.
I was talking to David Griffin. He was sitting side on at one point watching him, and he said you could barely see the ball as it was sent down by Joseph. Not a huge run-up, but he's in again, and that one, yeah, he's played at that. Ben Aitchison can't help himself. He used to be a batter when he was younger. Ben Aitchison up in Formby.
We interviewed Alan Richardson on BBC Over in Worcester last night, the Worcestershire bowling coach, and I said, "What did you think of Alzari Joseph's bowling?" And his first word was quick.
Oh, yeah.
And then he made comments about being a bit wayward and everything else. But he said, "Yeah, first thing you notice, this guy's quick."
Well, he'd be the quickest bowler on. Sure, Mikey Cohen might have something to say about that, but this next delivery's played out and missed outside the off stump. Aitchison can't actually get near any of these. They are a little bit wide of the off stump, and therefore he has a bit of leeway, but he really hasn't got near to edging one yet.
It's going to take some catching if he does, I think.
It is.
But you've got 2 good grabbers, though, with Vessels and Mitchell. They're pretty experienced in there, but cold hands. We talked about Worcestershire dropping 5 catches yesterday. In cold weather, it's not a great place to field, I think.
Aitchison does play this one, leading edge out into the offside. It goes over Jake Libby, and they're going to come back for 2, I fancy here. Yes, they are. Libby gets the throwaway now, and Harvey Hussain scampers back for the second. So Aitchison is up and running this morning as well. He moves on to 5, and Derbyshire up to 365 for 8. That's the end of the 103rd over there. So 7 overs in which to get 35 runs. I think it's going to be too tall an order, in all honesty. But we'll wait and see. It might happen. Aitchison has 5. Hussain has 68. And has batted really nicely, Harvey Hussain. Discussing yesterday. I mean, despite the fact he has clearly grown up since you first saw him, he's still quite a slight figure, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's not a power hitter.
No, he's not. Here's Ed Barnard into Harvey Hussain, who plays at that one, looking to run it down to third man. Not the best shot he's played, and it bounced a bit and beat him outside the off stump. No, I reckon the best chance of Derbyshire getting maximum bonus points would be if Aitchison were out and Hussain decided, I might as well play some shots now.
Well,
and if he had, do you know what I mean? And
you've just upset 2 of our listeners, for certain.
I don't mean to, but I do honestly think that would be the most likely way they could get
to
what
400.
Mean. Barnard bowls again, Hussain pushes out on the offside, because he could easily just go for it, play a few shots, get a few nicks, make contact, couple of shots through the covers or whatever, and you think, we only need 15 off 2 more overs now. But if these 2 stay together, they're just going to inch along. Yeah.
But I do think keeping Worcestershire out there for 10 or 15 overs is as valuable as getting the bonus point, though. So
Yeah. Barnard in again, bowls another bouncer, which is a waste of time really. Hussain just ducks underneath it. Didn't get within a metre of him, I shouldn't think. Waste of time, waste of effort, I think. But I suppose he's just thinking, I don't want to just keep running up and bowling the same ball over and over again. 365 for 8. Hussain's added 3 this morning. Aitchison's added 2. Here's Barnard again. Bright sunshine once again here at Derby. And he bowls, much better delivery, straight, and Hussain just pushes out on the offside. And it's fielded by Gareth Roderick at sort of short extra cover. 2 slips catching. Roderick in that short extra cover position. The rest of the field fairly well spread. Looking to give Hussain a single off the first 3 or 4 balls, although the square leg is now coming in. Tom Fell coming in. And so is D'Oliveira on the other side. So they're going to concentrate on off stump by the look of it. They've only got 2 fielders on the leg side now. And they're going to try and keep Hussain at that end now. As Barnard is in once more and bowls, and that's a good delivery. And Hussain clearly got a plan there, started to walk down, and I think he was hoping to just run it down to third man for a single, but it got Barnard maybe saw him come in, banged it in, and it just climbed on him a little bit, and he couldn't get anything on it. But now he's got, 2 balls left in the over, and he wants to get up to this end if he possibly can. Bit of cat and mouse. Barnard in again. Bowls now, and Hussain is taken on the pad, and that's not good bowling with only 2 fielders on the leg side. It runs away on the leg side. It was the last ball of the over, not the 5th. And they pick up a leg by, and Hussain keeps the strike. So you've got a 7-2 field. Last ball of the over, and slanted it into leg stump. He'll be disappointed with himself there, Ed Barnard. It was the in-swinger. And Hussain keeps the strike. 366 for 8. The Derbyshire score.
Disappointed with himself, but probably not as disappointed as the coaching staff, I imagine. Yeah, it was... didn't make a lot of sense, did it? But then again, the best laid plans and all that.
Yeah.
So Alzari Joseph, who will be bowling his 21st over of this Derbyshire first innings. Ed Barnard's just completed his 22nd. Barnard with by far the better figures. 2 for 64, 2 for 90 for Joseph, who's bowling to Hussain, and Hussain, well, that goes right through him. And Joseph turns around and looks at Hussain, and then his shoulders drop another inch or 2, and he turns around and walks back to his mark. That was a good delivery from Alzari Joseph, who is bowling in particularly alien conditions, in fairness to him. So pace is good. He just needs to sort out the line and length. He's in now, and that one is pushed away into the offside by Hussain. They've run the first one quickly. There will only be one, though, I fancy, as Libby comes racing in to do the fielding. There is only one. Hussain moves on to 69. And Derbyshire to 367 for 8.
And Alzari Joseph now, he's not only got his number on his sweater, but they've even got him a shirt now with his name and his number.
Yes, he didn't have the shirt yesterday.
No,
That's very exciting for him.
Good work by the kit men.
Yeah.
At Pride Park.
Flown in specially from the manufacturers. He's on his way in now. And Aitchison pulls his bat inside the line of that one, and it goes through to Ben Cox. Glorious day again, although there's slightly more cloud this morning than there was yesterday morning, but there is still plenty of blue sky up above. A couple of cormorant type birds up above. They're probably not cormorants, but if they are, they're not going to catch many fish around here. We must be the ground furthest away from the sea, I would have thought. As Joseph bowls edged and dropped at first slip. It was a big edge, and it was a fairly straightforward catch for Vessels at first slip. He just had to move to his left, and he popped it down, and Derbyshire remained just 8 down at 368. Aitchison moves on to 6. Poor drop.
Yeah, clear. I mean, again, you know, Joseph disappointed, but the benefit of pitching it up that little bit further. Everything's been short of length. That one just a bit fuller, like the ones that got him his wickets yesterday, and it got the nick. And it was a fairly straightforward slip catch.
Well, the wicketkeeper didn't get involved, so I can't use that as an excuse, Ricky Vessels. He's crouching down now as this next delivery is in. I'll tell you why we couldn't hear the nick, because I didn't turn the effects microphone up, and I apologise for everybody. We'll enhance the listening pleasure. Look, we can hear outside now. Picked up another single there. Saying moves on to 70. What's happening? No, he hasn't. Did they not run a single when he edged it?
It was Aitchison that edged it, and then that was a leg by just then, I think. Oh,
okay, leg by. Apologies. As this one is driven by Ben Aitchison. I wasn't concentrating, could you tell? Played out to the offside by Aitchison. and the over comes to an end at 369 for 805 overs gone of the Derbyshire first innings. Hussain has 69, Aitchison has 6, and Joseph, well, he just wanders back to his fielding position down at third man.
That was quite a good over, wasn't it, to be fair? He
better.
Straightened up a little bit, bowled a bit fuller, got a bit of swing, got the edge. Very unlucky not to pick up a wicket. And he's stalking down there now, isn't he?
He's not happy. I can't say I
think he was
him.
too happy yesterday. It was cold all day, apparently. Here's Barnard in, bowls, and Hussain drives at that, misses it, taken by Cox. He was cold. We were all cold all day, but apparently he felt it more than most. And I'm not surprised.
He's chillier than the average temperature in Antigua.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But for all that, and for all the fact that he was wayward, etc., and all the things we said, he was willing, wasn't he? He put his effort in. He fielded pretty well, and I think he's certainly shown potential. Barnard again. He's in. He bowls, and Hussain gets a single down to Joseph. He won't get two, I don't think. Good pick up and a quickly released throw from the big man. Hussain gets a single, goes to 70. 370 for 8. The man in form, Harvey Hussain, along with, of course, Matt Critchley, but 78 not out at Edgbaston last week in the second innings, and into the 70s again now, becoming a proper wicketkeeper batsman.
Yeah.
Played really well here, I think. Really well organised. There's Barnard again. He's in, bowls, and Aitchison is beaten by one that goes in this time. I think he played outside that one. Good delivery from Barnard, who's getting the ball to swing, as he does generally. As I said yesterday, does more with it than anybody in the Worcestershire side, but doesn't have the pace that one or two of the others have. In again now. Looking to make something happen. Bowls to Aitchison, and he beats him again outside the off stump with a good one. He's living a charmed life at the moment, Ben Aitchison.
Yes.
Leading edge over mid-off, dropped at slip, played and missed a few times. But primarily a bowler, of course, and holding Worcestershire up nonetheless in this partnership. 10 runs added so far to the overnight score. In 20 minutes this morning. Barnard once more. Bowls to Aitchison. Action. Have I seen that one before?
I think it's the same one. I think it's the same one, yeah.
Same ball. Full length, outside off. Maybe just nipping away a little bit, and he plays and misses at it. Hussain's going down to give him a little bit of coaching now.
Yeah. Try and hit it.
Yeah. Play that shot, but just go across a bit. I wonder what he did say. Don't worry, he's still there. Yeah. Here's Barnard again. In, bowls, and Aitchison. Whatever he said, it worked.
Yeah, I think what he said was, you do realise I'm on 70.
Perfect forward defensive. End of a good over from Barnard, but not a wicket-taking one. 370 for 8. Hussain 70, Aitchison 6. One man to come, and that is Connors, of course. Sam Connors, who... well, Fletch, you say he can hold a bat, but he's not.
Well, it gives me the opportunity slightly earlier than I expected, actually. He scored 5 in a century stand for the last wicket in the first innings against Nottinghamshire in that game that Derbyshire won last August.
Oh, fantastic. Who was at the other end then?
Lewis Deploy went from in the 60s to 130.
Fantastic.
Well, Connors was at the end. It was
a great watch.
Great fun. Alzari Joseph begins a new over, and it's edged over the slips for 4 runs by Harvey Hussain. He got plenty on that. It wasn't a catch or a catching opportunity because it went over the heads, and it would have gone over the outstretched arms as well of the 2 slips, one of whom is Mitchell, and second slip, the other one Vessels. It was closer to Mitchell, but wasn't particularly close to him. Derbyshire moved to 374 for 8, and Hussain on to 74. You can get in touch with us, of course. Just a quick reminder, at Frank Watson 58, which was his age a long time ago, and at Fletch Sport on Twitter, fletchcricket@gmail.com if you prefer the old-fashioned. How can email be old-fashioned? But it is old-fashioned method. As Alzari Joseph is on his way in now, bowls, and Hussain just dabs that into the offside, and there's no run. Ash Thorne's already been in touch. He says he's cricket ready. He sent me a picture of a chocolate chip muffin and says, please keep it constantly average, with a laughing face. We had a little... He was delighted that the average cricket commentary was back last week at Edgbaston. Good to have you aboard, Ash. Good to hear from you. Good to hear from anybody, in all honesty.
I've heard from somebody called Giles Joyner asking me about Josh Tongue's fitness. I can tell you a little bit about that in a minute.
Excellent. Here is Joseph, who bowls, and it gets an inside edge onto some part of his body, and the ball barely makes it out of the crease. No run.
I don't think Josh Tongue is unfit, actually. Josh Tongue is fit. He's bowling. He's been bowling in the second team. He's had a few niggles. He's had back problems over the years, but at this current time, I don't think he's on the sort of out injured list. I think at the moment he's possibly just down the pecking order a little bit. But certainly, I think bowled in the second team yesterday.
Oh, excellent. It was good news for Tom Wood and Alex Hughes in the Derbyshire second 11 yesterday. Joseph bowled, pushed into the offside again by Harvey Hussain. Is it weird? Just occasionally you think, well, why are they following me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the latest is the Monmouth Savoy, which is the oldest theatre in Wales and run by a team of volunteers and theatrical enthusiasts. And I have absolutely no idea. Just this second followed me. And you think, well, why?
It could be a cricket fan at work.
Yeah.
Using the work Twitter.
I mean, it's great to have you along, and you'd be very disappointed if you follow my Twitter line.
And you don't follow me, at Frank Watson 58. Yes, please.
Precious little on it, on mine. As this one is played nicely by Harvey Hussain out towards backward point, towards the boundary. And it's fielded by Libby, who seems to have done most of the fielding this morning. They pick up another single. Hussain moves to 75, Derbyshire to 375.
But I do know what you mean. You do just occasionally get followed by an organisation or something.
Yes.
And you think, why on earth?
Because you never notice when they unfollow you.
Well, I do, because I've only got 20 followers. Of course, you know, if I'm unfollowed, Dave, it's a blow. It's
oh,
a
no.
blow.
So I genuinely have no idea how many followers I have.
I am only joking.
Well, no, I thought you would.
Really.
And that's after 6 you picked up yesterday. Here's Joseph in and bowled. That one is pushed out into the offside by H's, and they scamper through for a quick single as Ed Barnard comes around in the cover region to do the fielding. He holds on to the ball because he's going to bowl the next over, because that was the final ball of Alzari Joseph's 22nd over, 2 for 98. So we'll all stand and applaud his century. Hussain has 75. Hutchinson, I said that in Edgbaston as well. He's the second team skipper. Aitchison 7, 376 for 8.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Hussain throughout this innings. He's I've said this about people before, but you know, people say sometimes, coaches particularly tend to say when they're talking about a batsman, he's well organised.
Yes.
Here's Barnard in to bowl to Aitchison, who swishes at this one outside the off stump and misses it. You know, they stand at the end of the net. I've done it myself. What do you think of him? Yeah, he's well organised. And what they mean is he knows where his off stump is. His feet tend to work in the right way, and that he goes forward when it's full and back when it's just short of a length and so on. But Harvey Hussain's one of those players that it's a perfect way of describing the way he plays. He knows his game. He knows what he can do and what he can't do. And he doesn't try and do things that he can't really do. Barnard in again, bowls to Aitchison, who edges this. Really well fielded at second slip by Darryl Mitchell. Bounced about 5 feet in front of him and skidded on. But it wasn't a chance. So Derbyshire, Worcestershire have, at the moment, by my reckoning, they've put down 6 in this innings. The one this morning that Ricky Vessels dropped at slip, but that one can't be called a chance. I'm going to describe this next ball and then pop next door to update FM listeners to BBC Hereford Worcester as Barnard bowls and Aitchison plays back up the pitch. Bowler kicks it away to mid-off where it's fielded by Pennington, and there's no run. Over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Frank. Frank will be back. I'm contractually obliged to allow him back. The updates, listeners to BBC Hereford and Worcester will be doing the same for BBC Radio Derby at some point in the next, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, I imagine, as Barnard is in and bowls. That one is pushed out into the offside very pleasantly by Aitchison, and there's no run. Alexander's listening in the early hours of the morning out in the United States. Too early, apparently, to put the live stream on. Great to hear the Americans are following the cricket, which it is, and the British are following the baseball, which I do. Cheeky question from Paul as well. I'll answer that in a moment, as this next delivery is turned into the leg side. I think off a pad more than anything. They might pick up two here as well. Cox has gone racing away from behind the stumps to do the fielding, and they do come back for a couple of leg byes. Good running, 378 for 8. Paul asks, am I commentating on Derbyshire tomorrow, or has cricket been outbid by football again? I shall be here for the final session. I'm not sure whether I'll be doing any commentating, but I shall be here for the final session. Tim Steer with you tomorrow alongside Frank. I shall be at the Proley Stadium watching Burton Albion take on Plymouth at 12:30 for BBC Radio Derby. Next delivery is turned up towards mid-on by Aitchison, and there's no run. Of course you can, Kaz. You can. I should be updating BBC Radio Derby listeners after the next song, which is by one of those generic pop singers. I have no idea who it is in my ears at the moment, but you know the ones, male, 20s, that kind of thing. The kids love it, though. The kids love it. It's a hand sanitisation break here, incidentally. You're not missing any action. The players, after 6 overs, have decided they'll sanitise their hands. They probably thought that they would be back in the pavilion by now, but Derbyshire have moved on from their overnight 360 for 8 to 378 for 8, after 8 overs, in fact. So, quite sure why it took that long to sanitise hands. Perhaps they just forgot. Alzari Joseph then 2 away from conceding a century of runs, and that doesn't include the byes. 22 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 98, and he's on his way in now and bowls to Hussain. He bowls a bouncer, and Hussain has absolutely nothing to do with it. And why would he? He will certainly have his mind on a century. Still 25 runs away, of course. So that's an awful long way away with just the 2 wickets remaining, but it won't stop him from dreaming. Taps his bat, then waits, lifts it up and waits, and clips this very nicely into the leg side for a single. Brett Oliveira is the man sweeping out in front of the players' pavilion away to our left-hand side, so he does the fielding. And hurls the ball back in. The laptop on which I have full screen stream coverage is quite an old laptop, I have to admit. It's very heavy, blimey. But it tends to lag a bit. So sometimes you look for the replay and you're 2 balls behind, which is not necessarily a good thing. Joseph in again, balls, and Aitchison getting more confident, pushes that one out into the offside. No run on that occasion. Frank has completed his update duties and is making his way back without dragging all the equipment off the desk. Good effort early in the day, 379 for 8. Joseph bowls, good delivery, and it's clipped very aerially but safely by Aitchison for 4 runs out to the square leg boundary. That will do him no end of good. He moves into double figures. He's on to 11. Derbyshire to 383 for 8. We're in the already in the 109th over, so they might have to get a bit of a shift on. I haven't done my update yet, Frank, so I'll it's going to happen very soon indeed. That song by the generic male singer in his 20s has just finished. Joseph is in and bowls, and yes, Ian, Derbyshire are doing pretty well here. They've moved on to 383 for 8 now. They started the day on 360 for 8 with Harvey Hussain on 76. And Ben Aitchison, number 10 batsman, has just hit a boundary off the West Indian international Alzari Joseph, which brought up Joseph's century of runs conceded on his Worcestershire debut. He's on 11. Yesterday, a century from Matt Critchley, 98 for Lewis Deploy, and a half century from Billy Godleman put Derbyshire in a very strong position. They could get an extra batting bonus point if they get 17 more runs, but they would have to do it in a little more than an over, so it seems unlikely, but they're doing well. 383 for 8 in their first innings.
The end of that over from Alzari Joseph, 383 for 8, and Joe Leach now doing some warming up, suggesting that he's going to come on and replace Joseph. Barnard continuing from the racecourse end, where we're sitting high above sort of straight long on position. Lovely view down the ground and to the city in the distance. Fair amount of traffic, or as always on the Pentagon Island here in Derby, but nowhere near as much as there would be if it weren't lockdown times. As Barnard bowls to Hussain, gets another single as he steers this down to third man. Joseph the fielder. That suits Worcestershire, who'd rather bowl at Aitchison, but he's made it into double figures now. Hussain is 77, he's checking his guard. He played and missed a few times at Barnard in his last over, but not managing to find the edge, the Worcestershire bowler. 2 slips waiting. We've seen 1 catch go down this morning. Aitchison dropped it first slip by Ricky Vessels, low to his left, off Alzari Joseph. Now Barnard bowling to Aitchison. 2 slips waiting as he bowls, and Aitchison drives confidently up to mid-off. Pennington is the fielder there.
He is growing in confidence,
Yeah.
Ben Aitchison, no question about it.
Absolutely. Feet are moving a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
He's not prodding at the ball quite so
Well, in
much.
fairness, they couldn't have moved less, could they? Really. But, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but you're right, and he is growing in confidence.
It's muscle memory from when he was a kid, when he was a batsman. It's all
on the beach at Formby.
all flooding back to him.
Barnard in, bowl, short. That's good bowling, actually. Has he got him? Well, yes, he's got him. He's bounced him out, really. And fair play to him, because earlier I said Barnard wasted a bouncer or two, and he did, but that one was straight, and it got Aitchison into a bit of a tangle, and he just gloved it back over his head and was caught by the wicketkeeper. So a breakthrough for Worcestershire, and a 3rd wicket for Ed Barnard. 384 for 9.
A strange old dismissal, really, as he tried a pull shot. I think in his own mind that was a pull shot, but he got himself into all sorts of trouble, and it just hit the gloves and looped up to the wicketkeeper, who won't get an easier catch in his entire career, I wouldn't think. Ben Cox. So Derbyshire on the brink of being dismissed now, but they have batted for 37 minutes this morning, those two, and just annoyed Worcestershire a little bit, which is always a good thing. Vessels will have that drop catch on his mind when he comes out to bat, and it's always good if you can keep a side out there when they don't want to be out there, and I don't think that Worcestershire necessarily want to be out there. They might have thought that they could have been batting by now. Aitchison will just have seen the pitch as well. The man who opened the bowling for Derbyshire is striding out now, Sam Connors, who, despite his tender years, is Lewis Rees apart, one of the more experienced players in this bowling lineup. Very inexperienced bowling lineup in English conditions, certainly. Mikey Cohen bowled a lot in South Africa, but we know how different it is there and here. Ben Aitchison, only in his 2nd season at Derbyshire. 2 products here batting together, Sam Connors and Harvey Hussain, 2 products of Derbyshire's academy, which is good to see. Batting together at number, or up for the 10th wicket at least. And only 90 overs and 3 balls to go in the day. Seems a long way, doesn't it? 6:45 finished last night. I don't think it'll be any earlier tonight.
Barnard in. Bowls 2 Connors, and that one is left alone, and he's not picked it because it's the big in-swinger.
Beautiful.
It came back and just missed the outside of the off stump. Beautiful lead, yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful lead.
Good lead.
Yeah, he'd have been terrified when as soon as he raised his bat.
Realised it was going the other way, I think, yeah. But good delivery. If it had been 2 inches straighter, he'd probably been out LBW, wouldn't he? Not playing the shot, but anyway. 384 for 9. Barnard again, looking for his 4th wicket. He's probably been the pick of the bowlers. And he nearly gets it with one that goes, that's a real beauty. And it's gone away from him off the pitch. Connors, however, will be thinking, well, if you can do this,
Oh, yes.
then so can I.
Do you not think that was a ball that was far, far, far too good for a number 11 batsman?
Yeah, that one definitely.
That was a great, following on from the one that came in.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, a really, really good player might have nicked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's Barnard again. He bowls and Connors drives at this one and misses it. End of the over. Good over. Wicket taking over for Barnard. And his figures now, well, they look quite good really, don't they? 25 overs, 3 for 65,
yes.
I think. 3 for 65, 3 for 66. Very good. Yeah, it's an oft-told story by me on air, but the last bowler that Worcestershire had, I think, that genuinely could swing it both ways at will was Phil Newport. It was quite a long time ago. And I remember him saying to me, if I'm trying to get a tail ender out, I only bowl in swing. There's no point bowling away swingers, they just miss it. I might do it now and again for a laugh. But generally, I just try and swing it in if I'm trying to get them out. Joe Leach not coming on. It's still Alzari Joseph.
Wasn't it? Yeah, interestingly. He's on his way in now to bowl Harvey Hussain, who's on 77. He drives that one up to Joe Leach. And there's no run. So looking to get Joseph a 3rd wicket here, if they possibly can. That seems to be the...
So 3 bowling points for Worcestershire, which is good. And
4
batting
points, which is excellent. I always think they're slightly harder to come by, especially in April. 384 for 9. Joseph bowls and Hussain chops that away. That might go in between the 2 fielders. It has, and gone to the boundary for 4 runs. Perfectly placed by Harvey Hussain, who moves into the 80s. He's on 81. Derbyshire move up to 388 for 9 in the 111th over. I have to ask David Griffin at lunchtime, when was the last time Derbyshire batted for 111 overs in the first innings? Doesn't happen on a particularly regular basis, certainly. Which is, so this is something to be applauded from a Derbyshire perspective. Saying 19 away from a century. Can Connors hang around long enough, and can Hussain survive as he gets an absolute snorter from Alzari Joseph? Can't get his bat anywhere near it. Tried to, went through to Ben Cox. Terrific delivery. And there have been deliveries where you've thought, wow. And once he starts to get those on a regular basis, I don't know how long. You said he was a short term.
Yeah, 6 more games.
Well, that's plenty of games,
more,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Plenty of games for him to get into some sort of rhythm. 2 slips in place for Joseph. Bowls, and Harvey Hussain reaches for that one short and wide outside the off stump. Runs the first one quickly, but it's fielded down to our right hand side by Dylan Pennington at 3rd man. Hussain moves to 82, 389 for 9. There are some songs that when they appear in my ears, I think, oh, I can commentate to this. This isn't one of them. I have no idea who it is, but the Optiman looks a bit chilly in the box 2 away to our right, doesn't he? He's got his snood on, for goodness sake. I don't think it's that cold.
I don't know. I can understand why the fielders are finding it
Well, yes, yeah,
in the
yes, they're
sense that
outside.
it's but also it's that kind of, it's not really freezing, but it's that creeping cold. You're just cold all the time. But maybe the optimum, the snood indoors is perhaps a
Well,
little bit over the top.
I've already turned the central heating off. 389 for 9. Joseph bowls, and it's a full toss that's pushed out into the offside by Sam Connors. Just searching for the Yorker. Didn't quite find it. Connors gets a bit of advice from Harvey Hussain, who twists his hand. No idea what that means. And it remains 389 for 9. I haven't switched the heating off, incidentally. But I should have done, because I woke up last night at about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Did
The
you?
sweat was pouring off me. Could just be my age, of course. From the city end, Joseph bowls wide of the off stump. And Connors just leaves it alone as it sails past and through to the keeper. End of the over, 389 for 9. Connors yet to get off the mark, having faced just the 5 deliveries. Harvey Hussain, 82 from 172. The boundary that he scored in that over was the 10th of his innings. And he's done well. Now then, I might find out why the Monmouth Savoy is following me.
Oh, okay. And why they're not following me. They want you to go and stay there when you do Glamorgan away. Is that it? Anyway. Are we going to find out?
We are indeed. The person who runs it, I'll tell you in a minute.
Ed Barnard to Hussain. Field really well spread. Drives into the offside. Takes a single. Off the strike. And Barnard now has 5 balls to try and get Connors. He's got to make him play, which Joseph didn't do with that last ball of the previous over. 390 for 9. Spill the beans.
The person who runs the Monmouth Savoy
Is a Derbyshire.
Their grandfather was the Derbyshire scorer from 1956 until 1970.
Wow.
This person helped him with all his work. The team is in my DNA, they say.
Excellent. I've got one now as well. Here's Barnard in. He bowls to Connors, and it's the end of the innings as he knocks his off stump out of the ground, and Barnard picks up his 4th wicket, and probably it just underlines the fact that he has been the best of the Worcestershire bowlers. Harvey Hussain remains unbeaten on 83. Very well played. His average is astronomical now, given that he was unbeaten on 70 odd at Edgbaston last week as well. Harvey Hussain averaging something like 163 or something, yeah. 29 extras in the innings. 21 of those were byes. Not many of them Ben Cox's fault. 6 leg byes, 2 no balls. Hussain then finishes on 83 not out, and the Derbyshire innings closes 390 their total. They've got 4 batting points, Worcestershire 3 bowling points. Bowling figures for Worcestershire: Joe Leach, 21 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 69. Dylan Pennington, 19 overs, 2 maidens, 1 for 69. Alzari Joseph, one of the 2 bowlers used today, 24 overs, 3 maidens, 108 runs for 2 wickets. And Ed Barnard, the other bowler used today, the pick of the bowlers, probably 25.2 overs, 4 maidens, 4 for 67. And the other 2 bowlers used, Brett D'Oliveira, 19 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 41, bowled very tidily, and Darryl Mitchell, who bowled just 3 overs yesterday, no maidens, no wicket for 9. So Worcester will begin their response shortly, and they're chasing 390.
Heavy roller on its way out, and after the break we'll try and find out why the Germans So the Derbyshire players are all out there. The Worcestershire batsmen have been coaxed out of the changing rooms. And they're making their way down the steps away to our, well, they will be shortly, away to our left-hand side, just in time for the midday updates. Looks like Derbyshire are going to start with 4 slips, which is good news. Critchley, Duploy, Madsen and Aitchison currently standing alongside Harvey Hussain. Sam Connors is clearly going to open the bowling because he's waiting at the top of his mark. They can't wait to get going. I'm trying to see who might be down at long leg. Down at long leg, it's Mikey Cohen, but I'd be very surprised if Lewis Rees didn't open the bowling from the City end. Billy Godleman will be at mid-off because that's where he fields, and Anuj Dal with the hand warmers is going to be at point. How many wickets can they claim in the hour before lunch? Can Worcestershire get through the session intact? These questions and many, many more will be answered over the next 63 minutes, probably. Darryl Mitchell just taking guard at the far end. Jake Libby, who continues his magnificent record of being on the pitch for every minute of the season so far, as he opens the batting now for Worcestershire after that terrific innings down at Chelmsford. Here's Sam Connors then from the racecourse end, in and bowls to Mitchell, who turns this very comfortably down to long leg. Mikey Cohen does the fielding, and Worcestershire are off the mark with a single. It is a remarkable effort by Jake Libby to have been on the pitch for the entire season so far. Even I haven't seen every minute of Derbyshire's season, and I'm only sitting down in a press box. Magnificent effort. Connors turns at the top of his mark. Runs away from us and bowls to Libby. Struck on the pad and he's been given out, and his time out in the middle has come to a very, very swift end. A magnificent century in the first match, a first bowler here at the county ground, and Worcestershire are 1 for 1. It looked pretty adjacent from here, I have to say. And Sam Connors strikes in his first over. Poor old Jake Boo. And it is a magnificent effort for him to have been out in the field for every minute of the opening match and every minute of this game up until now. But he is on his way. And that is just the breakthrough that Derbyshire were looking for, having scored 390 in their first innings. Paul Baldwin fairly swift to raise his finger and send Libby on his way. I spoke to Sam Connors just about a week before the start of the season, something like that, and was talking about him having a breakthrough season last season. 2 for 40 from 13 overs down at Edgbaston, and now a wicket in his first over here. And he really does look like he's going to fulfil the promise that we've been waiting for, really, from Derbyshire bowlers coming through the academy. The new batsman is Tom Fell, who takes guard. Overcast conditions, it's still very, very cold, but overcast conditions. Fell just having taken his mark, just does a little bit of gardening, just settling himself down out in the middle. He's come out, as has Ricky Vessels, in the short sleeve tops. And he waits now as Sam Connors bowls to him, and he goes back into his crease before coming forward and just pushes that backward of square on the offside. Anuj Dal does the fielding, and there's no run. Just 3 deliveries of the innings gone. And a wicket taken already. Update coming up for Radio Derby listeners as this one is turned into the leg side by Fell, fielded by Finn Hudson-Prentice at mid-wicket. That cap barely fits on his head with all that hair. Lewis Rees going through his warming up exercises at mid-on. He'll open the bowling from the excuse me, from the City end. Connors sets off, bowls to Fell, who's beaten outside the off stump. Good delivery from Connors. The man down at long leg, Mikey Cohn, just standing on his left leg like a flamingo. Good start by Derbyshire today. They were eventually bowled out for 390. Harvey Hussain was left stranded on 83 not out, and Worcestershire lost a wicket to the second delivery of their first innings. Jake Libby trapped leg before wicket by Sam Connors for naught. He's just completed the first over, and Worcestershire, in reply to Derbyshire's 390, are 1 for 1. If that made any sense. I can't work out why I can't hear things as well as I used to be able to. Might be my age, of course, but I think it's the machinery. I haven't got the buttons in the right place. Good first over. Really good first over from Sam Connors. Fell did try to convince as many people as he could that he hadn't played at one of those deliveries, but he did. And here's Lewis Rees, who will begin from the City end. Opens the batting, opens the bowling, wrote the theme tune, sings the theme tune.
Yeah, there aren't many that open the batting and the bowling these days, are there?
No, I'll say.
There aren't many. Lewis Rees, left arm over the wicket from the City end, bowling to Daryl Mitchell. 2 slips and a gully, or 2 slips and a sort of 5th slip. He's in and he bowls, and Mitchell drives on the onside. Didn't really time it, but picks up a single. As is it Cohen goes round to field at mid-on. Yeah. 2 for 1. Mitchell has 2 off 2 balls. Jake Libby, it's great, isn't it? We were just saying, weren't we, yesterday, what a leveler the game is and how much you learn and how much you've got to enjoy it when it's good. Libby really, really tastes that, doesn't he? As you were saying, he'd been on the field for the whole season, and his innings was abruptly ended in 1 delivery by Sam Connors. Full length, dipping in a bit to the right-hander and trapping him in front. 2 for 1 then. Tom Fell on strike now, waits as Rees bowls to him, and he's forward and pushes out on the onside. And there's no run. Fell is an LBW candidate, and I say that, I don't mean it in a nasty way at all, but he has had problems in his career, sort of falling over and being trapped LBW. Worked really hard on it in the last year or two. And had a in a truncated Bob Willis Trophy season last season, he had a very good season. Scored an outstanding 100 at Northampton. New season as he faces Rees, and this one does dip in from the left armour, but he gets a sort of thickish inside edge on it, squeezes it away down to long leg where Connors does the fielding, and Fell is off the mark. 3 for 1 Worcestershire. If you're just joining us this morning, Derbyshire resumed their overnight score of 360 for 8, and they added 30 runs this morning before the end of the innings. Ed Barnard wrapped it up with 2 wickets. He finished with 4 wickets. Harvey Hussain 83 not out at the end as Rees bowls across Fell, and he lets this go through to the keeper. Mitchell, I beg your pardon, lets it go through to the keeper. And 390 all out, the Derbyshire score.
Harvey Hussain's innings, with thanks, of course, to David Griffin, 231 minutes is his second longest innings by time for Derbyshire. His longest was the 305-minute knock against Worcestershire in 2016 when he got that 108.
Yeah.
So
he likes Worcestershire.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we can gather from that.
Lewis Rees in again. Bowls to Mitchell, beats him with one that just slants straight across him. Good bit of bowling. Mitchell prodding forward at it, pushed at it, played and missed. Has a little look at where it pitched, goes and taps the pitch down, and just trying to just get his geography sorted out at the crease. Remarks his guard and thinks to himself, maybe not going to play at that one again if it comes on that line. But it was a good delivery from Rees. 3 for 1. Mitchell 2, Fell 1. The man out, Libby. LBW first ball to Connors in the first over. As this one from Rees is slightly over pitch and driven by Mitchell up to mid-on. Connor Cohen is the fielder. It's the end of the second over. So both teams have lost a wicket in the first over of their innings, LBW. But it remains to be seen whether Worcestershire can respond in a similar way to the home side.
I noticed from the ECB that Ben Stokes is going to be out for 12 weeks with the broken finger, left index finger that he broke, taking a catch to dismiss Chris Gale in that in the IPL. Sorry, I nearly called it something then. And Gary, you're tweeting faster than I can keep up with you. So he says, well played, Harvey Hussain, and great thing about you, in the case of Sam Connors, who begins a new over with an attempted Yorker, almost got through the defences of Daryl Mitchell, but not quite. The great thing about youth is no respect for opposition or experience. Get in, Sam, he says, absolutely. 3 for 1. Sam Connors with the early wicket for Derbyshire, but the key for them is now going to be to keep picking up wickets. Clearly, as many and as often as they possibly can. Esteemed journalist David Hops is in the building today, which is very exciting. Wasn't here yesterday. Joined John Curtis and Nigel Gardner amongst the ranks of the written boys at the far end of the media building here, as that one is wide of the off stump from Connors, and Mitchell has nothing to do with it, allows it to go through to Harvey Hussain. And the sun is back with us, which is good news too, although the old nimbulus, cumulus, whatever they're called, they're neither of those. I have no idea what they are, but they've sort of got a grey tinge to them.
They have, yeah.
Which isn't necessarily promising, but there is no rain in the forecast, as far as I'm aware.
No.
Mitchell waits, and this time he's forced to go back into his crease and push it out into the offside as Connors ball's just slightly short of a length, and as Dahl comes in to complete the fielding. Ball immediately tossed to Lewis Rees, the polisher-in-chief, mid-on, who's working hard to get that big red mark on the front of his sweater going as early as he possibly can. Connors turns, runs off about 20 yards or so, and bowls on leg stump. That was going down leg side. The slips were interested, but Connors never was, and he had every right not to be interested as it thudded into Fell's pad. Because it was never going to disturb the wickets or stumps, call them what you want. We'll know if there's any bad weather about, because the ground staff will appear near the covers and there's no sign of them. They're all having a kip. Here's Connors in and bowls. That one is turned into the leg side by Fell. Hudson Prentice swoops, gives it to Hussain. He passes it to Dahl, and it's now back in the hands of Lewis Rees, who was the man who was out in the first over yesterday. He batted nicely in the second innings, in the first innings, I beg your pardon, at Edgbaston for a half century. And then went out like a madman in the second, and he's swinging the bat at everything. Connors bowls, and this one's way, way wide at the off stump. Poor delivery, really. And Fell has nothing to do with it. Quite rightly, end of the over. Mitchell 2, Fell 1, 3 for 1. Libby the man out. Lay before wicket to Sam Connors for what I calculate to be the third first ball duck of the match.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't often get that many, do you?
No, it is a lot, isn't it?
Well, it is in 11, 3 in 11 wickets. But yeah, it was.
Dahl
It
went.
looked a good shot. He didn't
Yes,
have much
yes.
hesitation, did he?
No, he didn't.
The umpire.
He didn't.
Lewis Rees over the wicket from the City end, going to be bowling again to Daryl Mitchell after that. Sam Connors over. He's in now. Angled approach, bowls across the right-handed Mitchell, left alone, taken by Harvey Hussain. And certainly in our conversation with the Worcestershire bowling coach Alan Richardson after play yesterday, I asked him what he thought about the pitch, what the players had said to him about the pitch, and he said they thought that it was a good service, but it had enough in it when the ball, particularly when the ball was new, to encourage the bowlers. So I think they'll be thinking this first period up to lunch particularly is crucial today. Rees in bowls to Mitchell, a little bit of in-swing this time. Mitchell solidly forward. You know, if they can. They want to negotiate this first hour. Well, we've got 45 minutes to lunch. Hopefully, without losing more than, well, certainly another one would be the most they would want. Equally, Derby should be thinking, yeah, get 2 or 3 in the first 20 overs of this innings, and again, it will be a significant movement forward in terms of the shape of the whole game. Rees in again, bowls to Mitchell, taken on the pad by one that swings a little bit. Little bit of initial excitement in the slips behind the stumps, but I think they realised that pitched outside a leg. It's just lobbed out on the offside, and there's no run. 3 for 1. Tough times for the Worcestershire batsman. Jake Libby out already to his first ball, in stark contrast to his innings at Chelmsford last week, and just cricket encapsulated. The life of the opening batsman. Rees bowls, Mitchell drives up to mid-off. Billy Godleman, the captain, does the fielding. And there's no run. 3 for 1. Worcestershire this morning wrapping up the Derbyshire innings with Ed Barnard well, not really wrapping it up. Took an hour. You can't take that long to wrap something up, can you?
Oh,
But
you should see me at Christmas.
It concluded anyway.
Terrible mess.
With Ed Barnard taking the last 2 wickets and finishing with 4 for 67 from 25.2 overs. Good effort from him. Here's Rees, in again to Mitchell, just ducking in again. Mitchell pushes out on the offside, and again, no addition. Derbyshire captain, Worcestershire ex-captain Mitchell. He's been there, done that. 16th season in the game, chairman of the PCA. He's been around. And a Worcestershire boy through and through.
Anuj Dahl's something high up in the PCA now as well,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, somewhere on the board.
They have quite a good sort of succession process, I think, where they get people ready. Rees bowls and Mitchell drives at this. That was a loose shot, angled across him wide, swished at it really. Fortunate to miss it, taken by Hussain. End of a maiden over. Mitchell has 2 fellas. 1, 3 for 1.
Still no explanation from the German Society at the University of Southampton as to why they followed both of us within a minute of each other. If you are listening, do let us know why you're following a couple of old cricket commentators, will you? Just fascinated to know. I mean, you're more than welcome, clearly. There's a poor shot from the last ball of that. Lewis Rees over by Daryl Mitchell. Could only have gone out from it. Fell's on strike now. And he waits for this delivery from Connors against a leading edge. He was trying to play that into the leg side. It flashes off the edge along the floor to Anuj Dahl, who's down quickly to do the fielding. False shot from Fell, who has a brief long-distance chat with Mitchell in between deliveries. Connors again. And Fell this time leaves alone outside the off stump. I tell you what we haven't done, and I'm going to do it now. And I don't care what anybody says. Scores from elsewhere. We haven't done them today. Elsewhere in this group, Durham have moved on very nicely indeed now to 216 for 8. Pretty sure they were 8 down at the start of the day, so it's been a good effort by them. And it's in reply to Essex's 96. It's a lead of 120, might be enough. Warwickshire not doing quite as well over at Trent Bridge as Connors bowls way outside of the off stump. Fell allows it to go through. 85 for 3 in reply to Nottinghamshire's 273, so 188 run deficit still for Warwickshire. Elsewhere around the groups, down in Cardiff, Sussex 157 for 1 in reply to Glamorgan's 285, so they trail by 128. Somerset have got Gloucestershire at 85 for 1 down at Taunton, which means that Gloucestershire still trail by 227. Fell just lifts his bat out of the way at the last moment as that one goes past the off stump through to Harvey Hussain. Leicestershire down at the Oval against Surrey have moved on to 304 for 4. They're only in the 96th over of their first innings. Leicestershire, the game was troubled by bad weather yesterday. Middlesex rather 8 for 3 against Hampshire, who made 319. And a spot of bother as Connors bowls again outside the off stump. Again, Fell leaves well alone. Kent at 36 for 2 in reply to Yorkshire's 379. Northamptonshire just beginning their first innings, 4 without loss after dismissing Lancashire for 305. And this afternoon, South Africa take on Pakistan in what is likely to be the best of the T20s you'll see today, especially if Babar Azam is playing in it, because he was absolutely magnificent 2 days ago. And if you had a choice of T20s to watch, I would go for that one. Here's Connors. In and bowls, and that one is pulled away for 4 runs by Fell. Fully in control of that shot over the head of the man at mid-wicket, Finn Hudson-Prentice. And the first boundary of the Worcestershire innings comes from the final ball of Sam Connors' 3rd over. Fell moves on to 5, and Worcestershire, after 5 overs, is 7 for 1.
Yeah, it was a little bit too short, that one, and no great pace. Fell onto it quickly, as you say, quite controlled. And he'd be relieved, I think, to feel that one in the middle of the bat. It hasn't been the most certain of starts for either of these batsmen. We were just saying that these first 10, 15 overs with this new ball, quite important. The pitch considerably less green to the eye than it was yesterday. But with the new ball still nibbling around as Rees comes in, bowls to Mitchell, and hands on heads all around as he steers this one down, and it bounces down just past the stumps. But he got a sufficient bat on it to make it safe, but it was a close run thing. 7 for 1, Worcestershire. Man out, Jake Libby. LBW to his first ball. So he batted for hundreds of balls last week at Chelmsford, and this week out to his first ball. And that's cricket, as they say. Lewis Rees, left arm over, in, past umpire Robinson. That one's wide outside the off stump and gathered by Harvey Hussain on the second bounce. A really difficult take, and he made it look very, very easy. And you often watch keepers and don't appreciate quite how difficult that sort of ball is when it dies on you and bounces a second or even a third time. And really good hands from Harvey Hussain. He's had a good game so far. He's had a good season so far. Waits again now as Lewis Rees comes into Mitchell. Bowls, and this one's down the leg side, and Hussain tumbles away to his left together. And just started on a leg and went further down. Mitchell on 2 then, Fell on 5. We were talking about Daryl Mitchell. It's a story really of kind of storybook stuff really, Daryl Mitchell. You know, local boy, Worcestershire boy, born and bred. Father quite active on the local cricket scene and grew up in in the county and went on to skipper the county, having come through the age groups. Lovely stuff. Reese in, bowls wide outside the off stump, left alone by Mitchell, taken by the keeper, and then goes on to be chairman of the PCA. He had a really excellent county cricket career. He's in his 16th season, and well, he shows no signs of slowing down, really.
No, why would he? Why would he? You're a long time retired, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think his golf handicap's coming down, so that'll be the next thing to concentrate on. Lewis Reese waits. Mitchell slightly open stance for the left armour. Waits now, and Reese bowls, and he's studiously forward, playing back up the pitch to the bowler. But testing times for these Worcestershire batsmen at the moment. Reese and Connors, neither of them express pace, both doing a bit with it. One left arm, one right arm. I like that in an opening attack. It's something that people have said about Worcestershire over the last 3 or 4 years, that we haven't had enough variety. We haven't had a left arm seamer for a while, and it does give the batsman a few problems. Oh, in terms of angles, that's a great leave from Mitchell. Excuse my but that missed the off stump by millimetres, having been left alone by Mitchell. Great leave, because, as we always say, there are only 2 types of leave.
Yeah.
Good ones and bad ones, and that was a good one, but it was very, very close. 7 for 1 at the end of the 6th. Is it 6 overs? Yeah, 6 overs, and in this innings. And 1 man out, Libby without scoring.
Yeah, 6 overs. All the players are making sure their hands have no germs on them.
So are we.
It's the virus rather than the germs that's a concern. Yeah, like sandpaper.
Rubbing, yeah, that's it. They're not the smoothest.
You need to moisturise.
I do, on a regular basis.
Oh,
I carry it. Look. I'm carrying it in my bag.
It's not working. Here's Connors, continuing from the racecourse end, bowls to Bell, and it's outside the off
It is working. You don't know how bad they were before. It's gone from coarse grade to fine grade sandpaper.
I can't get my hands to make that noise. No, nowhere near. Dot balls to begin the
It's all about bad circulation.
Fell waits, 4 slips in place, and he defends this one back towards Connors. He can't quite get down quickly enough to stop it from going through to Billy Godalming at mid-off, and he hands it on to Lewis Reese. These two will be very keen, Mitchell and Fell, to get Worcestershire through to the lunch interval now. Still more than half an hour to go, but that will be their first target. Regroup and find out what lies in store this afternoon. So leaves this one alone outside the off stump. Fell to go through to Hussain. So 4 slips for Sam Connors, only the 3 slips for Lewis Reese, who's more likely to swing the ball in to the right-hander. Derbyshire skipper Billy Godalming was talking to me after the game at Edgbaston and talking about how he enjoyed the variety of bowlers that he's got. He's got the left arm of Lewis Reese, who is definitely a swing bowler rather than out-and-out pace. He's got Sam Connors, the young up-and-comer, with his relatively quick stuff, and that one is turning to the leg side. Finn Hudson-Prentice comes in and does the filling. He's got the height of Ben Aitchison, and hopefully, who knows, soon we'll have the height of Billy Stanlake as well. He's got the left arm speed of a skiddy bowler in Mikey Cohen, who is the quickest of the quartet of out-and-out. I was going to say out-and-out bowlers. Lewis Reese clearly isn't an out-and-out bowler. Finn Hudson-Prentice as well, and then the leg spin of Matt Critchley. So he's got plenty of options at his disposal, Billy Godalming. Connors bowls, and that's edged between the slip cordon and Anuj Dal at point, and goes down to the third wide, third man boundary for 4 runs.
It's a bit harsh to call that an edge, I reckon, Fletch. More of it was a steer, wasn't it?
Steer, we're going steer.
Well, I think he got a lot of bat on it anyway, but
yeah, it was in the air. I know. not all steers.
Yeah. As a batter, I think that was a reasonable shot.
Well, I'd have been happy with it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure an opening batsman necessarily would. There's a big gap there, though, and he went through the gap. Here's Connors. Again, balls. This one's very wide of the off stump and left alone by Fell. He moved on to 9 with that steered edge down to third man. Mitchell remains on 2, 11 for 1.
Before I
at
go
the
and
end of the over.
Before I go and do my update, I'm just going to leave you with a thought
tune.
about Derbyshire. Now, when you said going through the attack there, very seriously about Billy Godwin saying about the variety of the attack and so on, and you know we've already talked about how well they batted yesterday and what form Critchley and Hussain have been in and so on. Where do you I mean, they're still regarded, I think, as a slightly unfashionable team.
No.
Probably both of these are,
no
But
question.
in terms of personnel and so on, I'm just wondering, looking at that variety and the lineup, where you think they could go this season.
Well, that'd be a wide from Lewis Rees, wasn't it? It wasn't signalled wide, but it probably should have been. Yeah, I mean, I think to finish in either third or fourth place will be a triumph in the group, so that they're not in that bottom group come the final 4 matches of the season, and they're actually battling for those middle positions. And they certainly have the ability to do that. And they've come a long way since 2016 when they were hopeless. As Rees bowls and it's played into the onside by Mitchell and there's no run. They never at any stage in 2016 looked like getting 20 wickets in a match. They barely looked like getting 10 and didn't win a single game that season, where they've certainly improved since then. It's just a relatively unproven bowling attack in this country. Again, say Mikey Cohen with his 50 first-class wickets before the age of 21, but they were in South Africa, which is completely different. Ben Aitchison and Sam Connors making their way in the game. Finneton Prentice too, to a certain degree, as Rees is in again and bowls, and that's a mistimed drive up towards mid-on by Darryl Mitchell. Mikey Cohen, the aforementioned Mikey Cohen, does the fielding at mid-on, and there's no run. 11 for 1. There are 3 slips, but the third of them is at 4th slip, really. Ben Aitchison, Madsen and Duploy at 2nd and 1st respectively, as Rees is in, and that's left alone outside the off stump by Mitchell. Another one of those good leaves, not as good as the leave in the previous over, but a good leave nonetheless. And because Rees is currently bowling, polishing duties have been handed over to Anuj Dal, who's fielding at backward point. Rees bowling from the city end. He's on his way in, bowls. That one is turned into the leg side. It won't go all the way for 4, I don't think. Sam Connors will get round from long leg to do the fielding, and he does. But Mitchell picks up a couple, moves on to 4. It's 13 for 1. Next delivery from Rees is driven very pleasantly towards the cover boundary for 4 this time by Mitchell. It was a poor delivery really from Rees, but too wide, didn't swing at all, and driven away. Mitchell moves on to 8. Fell has 9. 17 for 1 at the end of the 8th over. Just that 1 wicket to fall so far. Jake Libby, leg before wicket to Sam Connors' first ball. It was the 2nd ball of the innings, but his first, and the 3rd first baller of the match. After Mikey Cohen and Anuj Dal, bless him, He's had a bit of a torrid time with the bat so far this season. And we're going to see a change in the bowling already, and we're going to see Finn Hudson-Prentice from the racecourse end. His hair all over the shop. Well, it would be if he didn't have a headband on. He's not going to cut his hair in 2021, he told me. That's a pretty decent effort. We're only at the start of April. Well, we're in the middle of April, aren't we? We're in the middle of April. He's come on with 3 slips in place, a fairly orthodox looking field. Sam Connors is fielding in the covers. First delivery from Hudson-Prentice then. Keeps a little bit low. Almost surprises Felt, who manages to get his bat down on it and keep it out. Bruce Springsteen in my ears, which means I'm on next. Very exciting. Don't send that emoji. That's the one. Springsteen turns. He doesn't. Hudson-Prentice turns and is in and bowls and almost gets through again. Oohs and ahs out there at the moment. Terrific stuff so far from Finn Hudson-Prentice. No real pace about his bowling, but nagging line and length, nagging line and length. Perhaps a little surprised that it wasn't Ben Aitchison. He may be coming on from the City end to replace Lewis Rees, but Rees tends to have long spells. He's only bowled 4 overs so far, same as Sam Connors, who picked up a wicket. As Hudson-Prentice is in, and that's left alone by Fell outside the O-stump. Update for FM. Ian Sky coming up in a moment or two's time, once Bruce Springsteen has finished. I think he's finished now. Yes, Worcestershire in their first innings, 17 for 1 here, Ian, after Derbyshire were bowled out this morning for 390. Harvey Hussain making 83 not out. Ben Aitchison 11. Sam Connors was out for a duck, but Connors struck with the second ball of the innings, trapping Jake Libby leg before wicket for a first ball duck. Libby had been on the field for every minute of the County Championship season so far until his dismissal. At the moment, Daryl Mitchell has 8 and Tom Fell has 9, and Worcestershire are 17 for 1 in reply to Derbyshire's 390. Hudson-Prentice bowls, and it's defended very watchfully by Fell. Out into the onside, Aitchison comes in to do the fielding.
Had a message from Dave Bradley correcting me in saying that Daryl Mitchell was chairman of the PCA. He's not. He's just passed that responsibility on to James Harris, I think. So I should have said former chairman of the PCA. Certainly a job he did for a while, and he's certainly still highly involved with the PCA. But
I think very much like the President of the United States of America. Yeah. They remain the President even when they're out of office. This one is pushed out into the offside by Fell and fielded by Dahl. It's the end of the over. 17 for 1. Mitchell 8, Fell 9. The official account for the German Society at the University of Southampton. Big Derbyshire fan exiled down south, vaguely trying to read an academic text while following the match, which is proving to be pretty difficult, they say. And Kevin Braithwaite says Connor's run-up reminds him of Mike Hendricks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
You would have probably coached him at some stage in the academy, I'm sure. Anyway.
And thanks to Bradders as well for pointing out my error in calling Finn Hudson-Prentice Bruce Springsteen. He was in my ears. He was in my ears, Bruce Springsteen, not Finn Hudson-Prentice.
Do get in touch on Twitter if
not
you'd
Bradders,
like
not
to.
Bradders, though.
No. I'm at Frank Watson 58, all lowercase, and Dave is at Fletch Sport, lowercase. Do like to have a little bit of interaction with our listeners if we can during the day, so do get in touch. Feel free.
Leg spin.
Leg spin, yes.
Wow.
Not a bad idea,
No.
I think, just before lunch. And
well, if you'd probably get 5 or 6 overs in.
Yeah. Matt Critchley then coming on to bowl at the City end with his leg spin, and he'll be bowling to Daryl Mitchell. former chairman of the PCA. He's on 8. In comes Critchley and bowls, and Mitchell goes back and plays this one out on the offside for a single. Fielded by Cohen, coming in off the boundary. 18 for 1. Mitchell 9, Fell 9. The man out, Libby, without scoring first ball. Fell now takes guard against Critchley. Tall for a leg spinner.
Yes. Yeah, he's a big man, isn't he?
And batted so well yesterday. In he comes, bowls, and that one's very full. In fact, it's a big full toss. And Fell drives it out on the offside and doesn't get any runs because it's a very good diving stop in the covers by
Dahl. Who else?
Dahl. Good
What a
fielding.
fielder he is.
A real gift. That one missed by Tom Fell. There's Critchley again, bowls. This one's better on a length, and Fell forward to it. Pushes out on the onside. Fielded by Godleman, the captain, coming in from mid-wicket. Here's Critchley again. In, bowls. Again, good length. Just pushed forward by Fell, just dropped down in front of him with a dead bat. But apart from the big full toss, he seems to have settled reasonably well. We saw Brett D'Oliveira bowl pretty tidily in the Derbyshire innings. Very tidy figures. 19 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 41. Critchley bowls, bit of a grunt as he tries to put a bit of extra revs on the ball with that wrist action, but very full and just killed into the pitch really by Fell. So here he comes, last ball of the over, 1 slip. Critchley's in, he bowls, another leg break, no googlies in that over. This one just pushed out on the onside, fielded by the captain, and just 1 run off the over. Mitchell has 9, Fell has 9, and Worcestershire, in reply to Derbyshire's 390 all out, are 18 for 1.
It's interesting in the sporting psychology. Matt Critchley, who came out to bat, or when he came out to bat, short sleeves, no sweater, marched out, chest puffed out. Now he's out in the field, long sleeves. Keep that bowling arm nice and warm. But it is clearly something that he's thought about, because Hudson Prentice has got the short sleeves on, as has Sam Connors. But Aitchison warming up quite furiously at mid-wicket. As Finn Hudson Prentice, with 3 slips in place, continues from the racecourse end and bowls wide of the off stump. Mitchell allows that one to go through.
It used to be a time when bowlers, if you wore your sleeveless sweater and you wore your long sleeve sweater. If it was really cold, you wore another long sleeve sweater maybe. And when you bowled, you might have bowled 2 balls in your long sleeve sweater, and then that one would come off, and then you'd bowl in your sleeves. But now they have skins underneath, and they have thin tops and fleece tops, and it's quite difficult for them to know what's the most comfortable.
Prentice bowls, and this one is pushed out into the offside.
Complicated game.
David Smith has sent what he apologises for being an extremely, a bit long, he calls it. I'd say that was extremely long, David, but it says it's a bit long, that I might not be able to read and commentate while I'm doing 2 things at the same time. It's not one of my specialities, it has to be said. The Middlesex 8 for 3 was a Mohammed Abbas hat-trick, which I hadn't spotted, so thanks for that. There's Hudson Prentice. Also another one well wide of the off stump.
I don't see how you could have spotted it, Dave, really, from looking at the...
No, just
the update,
just from the update.
yeah.
No, absolutely not. Derbyshire settings, Tom Woods out for 138 and Alex Hughes 116 not out, and Derbyshire are now ahead in that game after being asked to follow on. There's a paragraph that I will decline to read out, but I'll pass it on to Frank. No, it's good. It's good. Sorry, that sounded bad, didn't it? Finn Hudson Prentice balls. This one's definitely out. No, I don't read that kind of thing out because I don't think it's my place. It's finally great to hear the tweet from the grandchild of Derbyshire scorer who was Gilbert Ryde. It was his great uncle. Worked on an honorary basis. He fired David's loyalty for Derbyshire. He was the analyst between 2009 and 17, as this one is turned into the leg side by Mitchell. and there's no run. It says he must get in touch with James, the granddaughter, and or Chris. He says he's lost touch with him. So I'm glad that we've sparked a little something that you might get in touch with a relative. But David, thanks very much for getting in touch and for those kind words.
So it was a hat trick, was it, at Middlesex? Wow.
That's apprentice bowls. That's a good leave by Mitchell, who allows it to go through to Harvey Hussain. He's on 9, Fell's on 9, and Worcestershire are on 18 for 1. No buys yet, bowled by the Derbyshire bowlers. We saw a few in the Worcestershire innings, but as of this moment in time, they've been fairly tidy.
Excuse me, talking about the game at the Middlesex Hampshire game, but it's extraordinary. Mohammed Abbas taken 5 for 3.
Oh my! Well, 3 of them were a hat trick, so he's
5
picked up
for
2
3.
more as well.
Yeah.
What are they
4
now?
overs, 2 maidens, 3 for 5. They're 14 for 5.
Oh.
I was going to say, if you missed a hat trick when you were actually commentating, that would be a bit embarrassing, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yes. But to miss it when it's on the scores like that, I think is perfectly understandable.
Excusable?
Yeah, perfectly understandable.
Thanks very much.
But 14 for 5. Wow. They're on the back foot there then, chasing 319, aren't they? That's Hampshire. What a start they've made to the season, notwithstanding a little bit of naughtiness in that win over Leicestershire that we talked about briefly yesterday. That stumping that was claimed
at the end of this over, it was one over of leg spin, so we didn't like that.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, and it's Ben
Aitchison. Yeah.
I'll show you that. I'll let you read the paragraph during this over at some point. You don't have to do it immediately. You'll work out which one it is.
Here's Aitchison bowls. He's tall. He's got a sort of high action, and that one just full of length, moving a little bit away from Tom Fell. And through to the keeper, 18 for 1. Worcestershire, 15 minutes to negotiate until the lunch interval.
In 2 for 31, he took Ben Aitchison at Edgbaston in Warwickshire's only innings. No, they come out very briefly, didn't they, for a second innings? In their first innings, they didn't lose any wickets.
Here comes Aitchison again. He's in, he bowls, and short, and 4 runs for Fell here as he cuts that and doesn't really get hold of it, but he got a thickish bottom edge and it shoots down between third slip and gully for 4 down to the vacant third man area. So Fell's third boundary takes him to 13. Mitchell has 9, 22 for 1. Earlier today, Derbyshire resuming on their overnight 360 for 8, lost. Aitchison caught by Cox off Barnard for 11, and Connors bowled by Barnard without scoring, leaving Harvey Hussain 83 not out, 390 all out the home side. Aitchison is in again, bowls full and driven, clipped away on the onside by Fell to mid-wicket. That's a strength. It's a strength and a weakness. He's strong through there. Occasionally, if the head just falls over too far, that's when he gets into the LBW problems. If he just keeps his head up, he's very strong between mid-on and mid-wicket. He's a talented player who possibly needs to just kick on a little bit, averaging sort of 32, something like that. Would want to be pushing that up nearer to 40. Experienced now. Aitchison in, bowls, and he leaves that one alone outside the off stump, taken by the keeper. And in terms of batting, Worcestershire, with Gareth Roderick coming in this year, little bit of uncertainty about what their top 6 will be. Jack Haynes currently out of the side, the young starlet really from Worcestershire's point of view. Had a good season last season, particularly in white ball cricket, and very, very eager to reclaim his place. Aitchison in again, bowls, and Fell up on his toes, plays this one off the back foot out on the offside, and the bowler does his own fielding in his follow through. 22 for 1. Sun's gone a bit. It's, as you said, Dave, much cloudier than yesterday, and still chilly. As chilly as yesterday? I'm not sure. Possibly not.
Not in here.
No, and possibly not out there. I don't think there's quite as the breeze there was yesterday. Here's Aitchison In again, bowls, and Fell is taken on the pad by this one. Not in here, Dave says. Not in here because I've brought myself a heater.
Well, that's
today.
why it's slightly breezier in here than it is outside, I
I've
think.
brought myself
No,
a little
it's
heater
got-
which I've
got the
tucked
heater.
away under the desk.
I'm getting some benefit from it. It might be actually you warming up that I'm feeling your warmth, but I'm not sure.
It could be.
I'm
End
not
of the
sure.
over anyway. 22 for 1 Worcestershire. Fell 13, Mitchell 9. And remember, this is in response to Derbyshire's 390.
Always good to get the first over out of the way. Ben Etchison had a bit of a torrid one at Edgbaston. It was the optimal mixed bag from memory. I think he bowled a no baller wide and took a wicket. So pretty much everything in there. Finelton Prentice is going to continue from the race course end. 22 for 1. So Derbyshire still with that healthy lead of 368. And it's Darryl Mitchell, who's on 9, who's on strike, and he leaves this one alone from Hudson Prentice outside the off stump.
Good delivery. Well, it was a bit wide, but it went off the seam and then carried on going. So Harvey Hussain was in front of first step when he took it. If he could just start that one 6 inches straighter, that's a really good delivery. And I think the umpire said something along those lines just then as well.
Well, as he walked past him, he sort of motioned that it had just moved a bit, did Hudson Prentice, and Paul Baldwin was agreeing with him, I think, and this next delivery is bang on target, but doesn't do a lot of movement.
A bit fuller, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's easily defended out into the offside, where Sam Connors does the fielding in his sleeveless sweater, if indeed they are still called sweaters. They're all man-made fabric and
they are actually much more comfortable, to be fair, but
and warmer, I would imagine. Yeah, oh no question. They're always fleecy lined, aren't they? Asked for a couple up here as this one is pushed out again into the offside by Mitchell, and again it's Connors who comes in.
it's just a shame they're just not quite as aesthetically pleasing as the old cable knit,
They're
county
not.
sweaters with the colours embroidered in. It's the modern game. I don't want to sound too.
Come on, Grandad.
No, I don't really, because I like the modern game in many ways, and I appreciate even have managed to still play in times recent enough to have worn this sort of stuff. Kept a bit low.
Yeah, back into his crease goes Mitchell to push that out to the offside. The one thing I don't like about the dark, well, there's many things, but they're too white for a
The
start.
whiteness, yeah.
No,
yeah.
is that they're not gathered in at the waist. There's no elasticated waist, so they look a bit like a jumble
sloppy,
sail.
yeah.
That's my one.
And the whiteness
One of
thing,
many, actually.
England went through a period, didn't they, where they were just terribly white, really, and cream is the colour.
Of course it is. Football is the game. In comes Finelton Prentice, turns this one into the leg side. Oh, that was blue, wasn't it?
Worcestershire stuff's a bit creamier, isn't
Yes,
it? If you look at, if you compare them,
No, it's nice. It's nice. Yeah.
But I know what you mean. But they are more comfortable. But yeah, they do look a bit sloppy. If you look at Wayne Madsen, for example, he's quite a slim chap. Sort of his top is just baggy around his waist, isn't it?
Yeah. If that's all we've got to complain about now, so it's not too bad, is it? Hudson Prentice
No.
bowls wide of the off stump to complete his over. It's left alone by Mitchell. It was a maiden over, but Mitchell on 9, fell on 13, 22 for 1 at the end of the over with around about 11 minutes to go until I can't see the clock because the scorers have pulled it blind right down yet. 11 minutes or so to go until the lunch interval.
Yeah, it was a maiden over, didn't really make him play enough, did he?
And one of those maiden overs where you go, wow, was it?
Aitchison to continue from the City end. Big lad, bidding to become a real proper all-rounder, I suppose, if he could just dig in and get a few more runs.
If he could bat.
Well, yeah. I thought you said he could bat at Formby.
Well,
In he comes anyway, bowls and Fell pushes this out on the onside. No, well, maybe
Well,
not a proper all-rounder, but if he can get 20s and 30s
difference
occasionally.
getting a century for the 15s at Formby and batting in first-class cricket, isn't there? I think.
Well, there is, yeah. But the better of the bowlers in terms of his batting, shall we say?
Well.
Although I bet they argue among themselves.
No,
about that.
I think Mikey Cohen's a better batsman. I know he's out for a first baller, but
yeah. Anyway, here's Aitchison. He's in. He bowls short, outside the off stump, just short of a length, not really short. And Fell goes back, plays out into the offside where Billy Godleman does the fielding. Number 1 on his back. I'm the captain. I bat first, and I wear number 1. 22 for 1.
And he's not like that.
No.
He's not like that, Bill.
I'm only joking.
I know.
I'm sure he's not.
But he isn't. He couldn't be any less like that, in fact, if he tried.
In comes Aitchison again. Bowls, and that's Fuller, and Fell is forward this time. Pushes back up the pitch to the bowler. 3 slips waiting, and nothing's gone their way just yet. Critchley at 3rd slip, Madsen at 2nd, and Deploy at 1st. Harvey Hussain the keeper. And then we've got Anuj Dal at sort of backward point. Billy Godleman at wideish mid-off / extra cover. Aitchison is in again. Bowls, that one angled into Fell, but left alone and then carrying on its line. And by the time it reached Harvey Hussain, it was outside leg stump, but passed harmlessly both outside the off stump and over the height of the stumps. Big lad, Ben Aitchison, and he banged that one in. What is he? Must be about 6'4", I would think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't know, I've never met him.
22 for 1.
Bizarre. I've never met Ben Aitchison face to face.
In he comes. Arms pumping. Bowls. And that one, similar length, left alone and scooted through at sort of shin height, really. Has just been the hint of
Hasn't it?
up and down-ness about this pitch, which doesn't bode well if you're the team that's liable to bat last on it, you would think. That looks to turn it on the leg side. Bit of a sort of half-hearted appeal, but no danger. I think it was going down the leg side and probably too high. 22 for 1 at the end of the over. Mitchell 9, Fell 13. The man out, Libby, first ball. Second ball of the innings, LBW to Sam Connors. Obviously without scoring. 390 Derbyshire eventually made in their first innings.
I've got a father standing up for his son here, which is how it should be.
Who's is that Ben Aitchison's?
Yeah.
He's on my side, is he? Thinks he's an all-rounder.
Careful, I'll remind you of your comments one day. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It's all in jest. Well, some of it is. Some of it isn't. Hudson Prentice, I've got to say something. Hudson Prentice bowls and is driven up to mid-off by Mitchell, and there's no run. And Gary's delighted to see that Wood and Hughes in the runs for the seconds. Good competition for shirts, which clearly it is. They both had relatively disappointing pre-seasons, I think. He's also happy that the Spyrites are going well and the sun's out. He's there in Mablethorpe.
Lovely.
Yeah. Handkerchief on his head. Pint of warm lager in his hand as this one is outside the off stump. Through to Harvey Hussain. I've never been to Mablethorpe. I ought to go. Because I shouldn't really comment if I haven't been. 3 people have just entered the ground who I don't actually recognise over on the far side. Are they Worcestershire boys? Is the middle one a Worcestershire top?
No, nothing to do with us.
Actually, it could be the chief executive on the left.
So
I do recognise him, and they're perfectly entitled to be here, as this one is way wide of the off stump.
Go wherever you like,
Absolutely. Yes, that one goes through to the keeper, and there's no run. The ball is returned to Lewis Rees via Mikey Cohen. I wonder if we'll see him before lunch. You'd expect he'd give everybody a little spin. I know he only gave...
Not long left now, though.
Yeah, that's true. No, I don't think we will see him. He doesn't look like he's warming up, does he? And Ben Aitchison hasn't put his sweater on down at long leg, so he's expecting to bowl the potentially final over of the morning session, as this one is fullish, and it's driven into the ground and back towards Finn Hudson Prentice. And there's no run. 2 balls left of this over, by which time the clock will have ticked beyond 4 minutes to 1. So if they try really hard, they can make that the last over before the lunch break. Big game of football tonight for Derby County. Blackburn, 6 o'clock on FM and medium wave. AM, as it's properly called. This next delivery is pushed out into the offside by Mitchell. oohs and ahs as Anasdal comes swooping in from backward point to do the fielding. And there's no run. He's in danger of bowling back-to-back maidens here. It's Finn Hudson-Prentice. Again, not hugely threatening at this point. Turns and sets off. Bowls and he's bowled him! He's bowled him! Wicket cartwheels back. And that's the breakthrough that Derbyshire were looking for before lunch. They've already picked up 1 wicket, now they've got 2. And Daryl Mitchell's gone for 9. Finn Hudson-Prentice strikes. And Worcestershire are 22 for 2 in reply to Derbyshire's 390.
Yeah, that's a big blow, actually. That's a really big wicket, I think. Daryl Mitchell and Jake Libby are the two players that you would probably say are the most likely to go big in the Worcestershire batting lineup, one or the other. And Mitchell's gone and well beaten by a really good delivery. That one nipped back between bat and pad and extracted the middle stump. What a sight for Finn Hudson-Prentice. Absolutely tremendous moment for him. Just watching a replay now. Not much to see on that one because it's side on. Not very helpful. I'd quite like to see a replay of it straight on just to see how much it did do. But
that's Elliott's fault.
It beat
Elliott's fault for not giving us the
straight.
It beat
Daryl Mitchell's forward
replay.
push, which is not common, and nipped back sharply and extracted the middle stump. And we are now going to see another over of leg spin from Matt Critchley.
Yeah.
Interesting little ploy by the Derbyshire captain. Nice bit of imaginative captaincy for this last over before lunch. So Worcestershire in a bit of trouble now. 22 for 2 in reply to Derbyshire's 390 all out. And I'm going to leave you with Dave Fletcher now as I go off and do a sad update for BBC Hereford and Worcester listeners.
Update for the lunch score. The thing about the leg spinner being on, it will almost certainly be lunch by the time we do the updates, which is always helpful, I think. Yeah, I think as commentators we should be able to have on-demand replays, but I'll have a chat with Elliot about that as Critchley bowls the first delivery of his second over from the City end, and felt very mindful that this will indeed be the final over, probably. Only a minute to go until 1 o'clock. Critchley's in again and bounces a little bit more, and Fell goes onto the back foot and pushes it out into the offside, and again there's no run. 22 for 2. Worcestershire in reply to Derbyshire's 390. This next delivery is played out into the offside and completely fools Anuj Dal, who was moving to his left, dived to his right, missed the ball, and it goes through to Lewis Rees, and they pick up a single. Perhaps that's what he wanted. Have a little go at the new batsman, Gareth Roderick. Roderick marks his guard, bends down, he's ready, almost. 4 balls left until lunch. That's a full toss, and he lets Roderick get off the mark with a full toss. There's a chase around the boundary here for Sam Connors. He'll get there now. We'll pick up and keep them down to a couple. There's that alarm again. Quite worked out how to switch it off yet. Anyway, it might come on again as well, because I think I've hit snooze. 1 o'clock arrives, so this will be the final over before lunch. Just 3 deliveries remaining. 25 for 2. It's gone down on my scorecard as a single, but it was definitely 2. Oh, it hadn't gone down on my scorecard. I think it's been corrected now. Anyway, 2 balls left of the morning session. Critchley is in and bowls, and Roderick pushes it up towards a very straight mid-on. Aitchison comes round to do the fielding, and there's no run. So the final ball of what has been a good session for Derbyshire, who added 30 runs this morning. As Critchley is in again. Bowls, oh, that's pushed Up to Aitchison again, and that will be lunch. Players will leave the field with Warwickshire on 25 for 2. Tom Fell has 14 and Gareth Roderick has 2. Bowling figures from this morning and from a Derbyshire perspective, just before we update listeners to AFM and AM. Sam Connors 4 overs 1 maiden 1 for 9. Lewis Rees 4 overs 2 maidens 0 for 8. Finn Hudson-Prentice 4 overs 4 maidens 1 for 0. Matt Critchley bowled 2 overs for 4. Ben Aitchison 2 overs 1 maiden 0 for 4. The men out. Darryl Mitchell was the second man out, bowled Hudson-Prentice for 9. Jake Libby out for a duck. And we will return on the stream and online after the 40-minute lunch break.